The Pleiadian Mission, A Time of Awareness by Randolph Winters, 1994. Introduction. Our civilization has gone through important changes such as the discovery of fire, the development of the wheel, languages, religion, the Industrial Revolution, and technology, and now we are moving into a new age of mind and spirit. The next major event in history will be open contact with life forms from other worlds and taking our position in the family of man in the universe. This event has already started, but as in many historic changes, it is first known only to a few before it becomes known to the masses. The timing of this event is particularly important since our current civilization is in the beginnings of a transformation into a state of higher consciousness that will forever change the way we live on Earth. We have been contacted by humans from a small cluster of stars called the Pleiades. The inhabitants, the Pleiadians, are a race of human beings, not unlike ourselves, who have advanced thousands of years beyond us in technology and spiritual understanding. They are stimulating our consciousness through the dissemination of information so that we can make the necessary changes to create a new world based on Salome, a Pleiadian word meaning peace in wisdom, for the coming new age on Earth. We are fortunate that these visitors from the Pleiades have chosen to gently awaken us to the knowledge of their existence. If they suddenly filled the skies with their spacecraft, or landed on the White House lawn, the majority of the people of Earth would probably fall into panic and confusion. Others would worship them or expect them to bring us this long-awaited peace. Governments might fall or lose control as people began to think of themselves as citizens of Earth rather than any particular country. Reactions would vary, but one thing is for sure: the Earth would never be the same because the knowledge that the Pleiadians bring about science, life, and philosophy could have a devastating effect on our social, economic, religious, and political structures. Too much information too fast could overwhelm a world that is used to making changes slowly. As our neighbors from another world come to visit, it can also be a wonderful time of discovery. There is the possibility to learn from them, change the way we live on Earth, and create real peace among humanity. Extraterrestrial knowledge can be used to enlighten our world so that we can resolve the differences that separate us here on Earth and prepare us to fit in with the universal family of man on other worlds. Up to now, the many different races on Earth have been unsuccessfully trying to learn to live together and come to terms with their many different ideologies and social customs. Through contact with the Pleiadians, we are forced to examine ourselves through the revelations of a higher intelligence and, hopefully, move to a new level of awareness that can facilitate the peaceful coming together of the many nations on Earth. As we move out into the cosmos, we will come in contact with other races that live differently than we live. They may have mannerisms and customs we will not even understand. How exciting it would be to peer into the future 50 years from now and see all the wonderful changes Earth will go through as we come into contact with beings from other worlds. The biggest event in our history is unfolding before us right now. When I became aware of our extraterrestrial visitors from the Pleiades, I traveled to Switzerland to the home of a Swiss farmer named Billy Meyer, who is in contact with these off-world visitors. Over a 3-year period, I made several trips to Switzerland to learn all I could about these contacts with extraterrestrial life. After I had become friends with Billy, He appointed me as his representative to speak at lecture halls in America and Europe on what I had learned. This gave me the opportunity to share the important messages of heightened spiritual awareness, our connection to the universal family of man, the science of space travel, and the true origin of humanity on Earth through our connection to the Pleiades. After several years and hundreds of lectures, I am no longer Billy's representative, but I would like to share with you what I have learned through studying the notes that Billy made of his contacts with the Pleiadians, as well as my own insights gained from private conversations with both Billy and the other members of his group. Also included are my own ideas on how we can create a new future for our planet by using the knowledge of higher consciousness. This is not a book on UFO stories of fantasy, but a book of information based on the true life experiences of Billy Meier and the information passed on to him by the Pleiadians for the planet Earth. My intention is to educate, provide stimulating ideas, and raise awareness in order to help us adapt to the changes that are being instigated by our contacts with other extraterrestrial beings. Each day, it is necessary that we feed our bodies with food to nourish ourselves, and it is also important that we feed our minds and spirits as well. Here I offer you food for your mind and spirit, in the hope that we can all come together and create peace on Earth in the new age. It is time for us to unify through education, not through the force of legislation. UFOs. It is no longer a question of whether or not they are real, but a question of whether or not you know about them. Timeline. A prophet comes to Earth. Earth, 9,500 BC. Earth was suffering from the most difficult of times. The great societies of Atlantis and Mu had lived in peace for over 20,000 years, and now treachery and deceit pitted brother against brother. Everywhere were the cries of war and hatred. Soon the oceans would boil with blood as the great scientists readied their weapons of destruction and violence. The peace that had long been their friend was fading to a memory as history was about to erase all traces of these great two civilizations. Far away on the home planets of the Pleiades, the great spiritual leaders watched and listened as their younger brothers on Earth quarreled. The highly developed sense of Pleiadian consciousness moved across time and space and felt the coming tides of death and destruction. Earth would be falling into a dark time which would last for many thousands of years, a time of despair, destruction, and degeneration, as those who would survive would be living on a planet with no spiritual guidance. It would be thousands of years before another civilization would again grow out of this hard and difficult period. A decision was made to help the people of Earth by sending them a special being of higher consciousness to serve as a prophet. This being would be much older and wiser than the people of Earth, having already lived through the difficult times of material evolution, which provided this being with the great insights of life that would be needed to nourish the souls of humanity. The soul or spirit of this prophet had to possess the integrity and strength of character to teach universal truths in the face of all opposition, hate, anger, and doubt that would be directed at this soul, since the truth can sometimes be hard for certain people to accept. This was not an easy task for a normal person, so the Pleiadian spiritual leaders had to choose a very special spirit who could see beyond the cries of anger and ignorance of the uneducated Earthman and still be open to offer love and guidance. In order to find this special soul, the wise High Council of the Pleiades knew it would be necessary to search for a spirit who had evolved beyond the bounds of material life and existed in pure, spiritual, non-material form. It was known to the Pleiades that the spirit or soul of all human beings eventually evolves beyond the material and becomes a purely spiritual form, which no longer requires a material body to survive. Having accumulated vast knowledge of the material life, the human spirit is then well suited to helping younger and less educated spirits who are still in material form. The Buddhists call this bodhisattva. Even at this point, evolution will still continue for the bodhisattva, and the spiritual form will continue to learn and evolve until it becomes part of a larger, more highly evolved form of spirit called a collective consciousness. To the Pleiadians, the word spirit or spirit form means the same as our use of the word soul, and refers to the eternal life force energy that lives forever. The home planets of the Pleiades were not inhabited by such highly evolved beings, so the search began on other worlds. Human life is a spirit form that has emerged from the eternal creation spirit and has developed its own consciousness. It is still connected to the creational source and progresses through a series of material lives in order to evolve. The Pleiadians sent a ship to a remote area of the galaxy to a small planet called Lak'esh. Here on this quiet world lived a race of beings that through millions of years of evolution had evolved into a spiritual race, no longer having any need for the material bodies they once knew. Their knowledge of the material existence was complete and had freed them from the boundaries of the life and death cycle, for they now existed in the state of development common to higher forms of life called a collective consciousness. Each one of these collective consciousness groups was comprised of 7 different spirit forms. Each of these spirit forms still retained some measure of memory of their individual personalities, but they could think and exist as a single unit while sharing their collective wisdom. Here on this peaceful and tranquil world, the Pleiadians made contact with one of these collective consciousnesses that was sympathetic to the problems of Earth humanity. As the wise old spiritual collective consciousness listened, one of its 7 spirit forms volunteered to degenerate back into material life and help the people of Earth. This was a very serious decision, for once the spirit returned to material life, it would necessarily lose contact with its memories and the accumulated wisdom that it had earned over billions of years of evolution. Once back in the material realm, it would be up to the Pleiadians to educate and help the old spirit reconnect with its vast knowledge in order to perform its important role in this special mission. In order to get the old spirit to Earth, it was necessary to move it into a material body for the trip. Spiritual piggybacking, you can think of it. The Pleiadians had brought with them a small child who had been born especially for this mission and purpose, to serve as host for the old spirit's journey. Since material bodies can be inhabited by more than one spirit at a time, it was easy for the highly advanced old spirit to move itself into the Pleiadian child and once again begin to feel the sensations of interacting with the world through physical means. Now separated from the highly evolved collective consciousness, the old spirit was ready to begin a mission on Earth that would last for approximately 12,000 years. Then, through the aid of the Pleiadians, it would return to Lak'esh and to the life it once knew. Once the mission was over, it would have to relive many lifetimes in order to evolve back to the level of evolution it was leaving behind. Many of the lessons of life that had been painstakingly learned would have to be learned all over again. With the small child carrying the ancient and highly evolved spirit, the Pleiadian ship quickly left for Earth. Having more than one spirit in a body at a time normally causes confusion, but the child was very young and would only have to support the visiting spirit for a short trip. Once on earth, the old spirit removed itself from the child and prepared itself for its first incarnation into a material life. Incidentally, the small Pleiadian child passed over into the other side, or heaven as we call it, so its spirit form could then incarnate into life on earth as well. The wise old spirit was also on the other side and prepared for its mission on earth. The Pleiadian spiritual knowledge makes it possible for them to contact the other side, the place where sleeping spirit forms cogitate the experiences of the past material life and prepare for new material existence. This is the same realm that earth shamans are able to tap into. Once they are ready to re-enter the material world and continue their path of growth and learning, creation, the eternal spiritual energy, provides an opportunity to return to the material realm through the process we call birth. Normally, this is a natural occurrence involving both the spirit form, who signals its readiness to return, and creation itself, which makes it possible. When we are born, we begin to create the material body that we live in. This physical material is called coarse matter by the Pleiadians, energy in a solid state, and is created in relation to the spiritual evolution of the spirit form that is creating it. The level of evolution of the mother and the father who begin the process of creating the body is more important, since the spirit form does not enter the body until it is already started by the mother. It is very important to the incoming spirit form to find a body to enter that is as close as possible to the same level of evolution as itself. This is one of the prime laws of creation, which controls the process of reincarnation. In the case of this special old spirit, this would be impossible, for the level of evolution on Earth was far too underdeveloped compared to its own evolution. This first lifetime would be the most difficult and awkward, for there would be a great loss in memory and intelligence as it degenerated into a material body not capable of holding its vast knowledge. This new Earth body would not have enough brain connectors and sensors to hold all of the incoming experience and wisdom. Much would be lost. There would be no turning back, however, once it entered this material body, because its connection to the vast wisdom of the collective consciousness on Lak'esh would no longer be available. Here on Earth it would be disconnected from much of its own evolution and would need the help of Pleiadian spiritual leaders for guidance on this mission, much as you right now. After preparation and observation from the spiritual realm, the first physical life of this great spirit form began on Earth. During this physical life, it would be known as a prophet in a world that was spiritually stagnant. Even though disconnected from the memories and knowledge of the previous lives on Lak'esh, the high evolution of the spiritual self that would remain intact would enable it to quickly adjust and to learn the knowledge needed to help the people of Earth. Once born into this new material body, the spiritual memories would have to be opened up by the Pleiadian spiritual leaders in order to allow access to the knowledge of creation and to some of the memories of its own former lives. The knowledge of how to access spiritual wisdom was known to only a few on Earth at that time, so it was up to the Pleiadians to help the old spirit form. In each lifetime, it would once again be made aware of its spiritual identity and role in the Pleiadian mission. The old spirit form would be awakened to the wisdom that rested within its spiritual self, so it could be used during the material life. This being would also be given the opportunity to return to Lak'esh at any time if it so desired. This would be the process through all of its lifetimes on Earth for the next 12,000 years. Lifetime after lifetime, the Pleiadians helped the old soul through various material lives in order to bring truth to the people of Earth. The life of a prophet is always difficult, for she or he bears the burden of upholding the words of truth to those who are usually afraid to hear it. To the Pleiadians, the people of Earth were learning the lessons of life very slowly and making their lives unnecessarily difficult. This seemed to be happening because of misleading information about the meaning of life, causing people to live very material and unrewarding existences. Thousands of years passed as humanity continued on this slow path of evolution. The old soul was procreated by the Pleiadians on several occasions to lead the life of a prophet every time, while slowly the people of Earth were responding and learning the lessons of life. In some incarnations, the old soul would dedicate the entire lifetime to teaching just one message, which would have such an impact that the world would be changed forever. Such was the case during the 16th century, when this old spirit form came into life for the sole purpose of educating the world about Earth's place in the universe. It was a time when the Church dominated the thinking of man and interpreted the Bible as saying the Earth was the center of the universe. It was God's chosen planet, and the sun and all of the other planets revolved around Earth. The church leaders also believed that the stars in the heavens were made of different material than that of the Earth. They had created a position of power and exclusivity for themselves, which was enslaving the minds of men. The time of Galileo. The Pleiadian spiritual leaders concentrated their highly skilled consciousness into the spiritual realm, and the sleeping spirit form was again pulled into life. The year was 1564 in the town of Pisa, Italy, where, on February 15th, a new lifetime began in the name of Galileo Galilei.